Hey everyone, this is Founders365 with me, Steven Haggerty. Today I'm joined by Adam Collingburn, who is founder of Wuzci. How you doing today, man?
Yeah, not too bad. Just had my daughter's first birthday party, which was interesting. But yeah, back ready to get on things. How about you?
Yeah, good man. Thank you so much. First birthday, how did that feel?
Yeah, it's gone by fast, man. Like we launched the business about a week after she was born, so that's kind of accelerated the time as well.
So you're going to do a first birthday for the business next week?
Yeah, hopefully get everyone together. Might do a few offers and things like that, but keeping a few things under wraps.
Cool, dude. So Adam, first question as always is tell me about the story of Wuzci.
Okay, so for the last few years, I got really frustrated about buying cards. So I work away quite a lot. I do a lot of traveling and things like that. So I was sick and tired of going to Paper Chase or Clinton's or one of them at the very last minute, spending £4 for a card. So I said, surely there must be something that just does this for me, right? Like I give it all my occasions and it sends me the right cards that I need every month. And it's just sorted, and there wasn't anything, nothing around, still very much just kind of old school, either just very standard e-commerce, you buy one product, they send it to you, or just the standard retail stuff. And it seemed to be such a gap where it's like, well, there's all these different subscription models for pasta and sweets and everything that you don't need, but the one thing that you do, which was for me, was greetings cards. I just decided to go for it, start building a platform. I did a little bit of research in terms of the market, and we just cracked on going. That was how we got going. I partnered with Sophie, who's an absolutely phenomenal designer, and she kind of got things kicked off on the store, and we think we got our first kind of 200 designs from her. Nice. And then we've kind of built this artist network around that, which allows artists to kind of get commission from just uploading their artwork to the site.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the artist side of it, because I suppose you could have just built this site, built this subscription service without having that, without the need of putting in independent artists on board.
Yeah, I mean, so there was the first thing that I thought was a lot of designs that I saw on competitors weren't overly exciting, and there was a lot of fantastic designers that really weren't getting enough credit. And at the same time, we were so lean. So paying someone 10, 20 quid to design a card is obviously huge when you need to get thousands and thousands. It's just not a budget that we didn't have. So it worked quite well in terms of there's mutual benefit there for everyone. And what's fantastic from the artist side is there's a kind of a standard, there's a way to make a regular income. So there have been there's a few other marketplaces out there. People can do it on their own back in terms of Etsy and not on the high street. But there just seemed to be this gap where it's like, okay, well, where is the place to go for greetings cards? And if you had something that was like these people who are subscribers, they're always going to be buying cards from us and selecting from them. So you're able to make a much more regular income versus just selling that one design to Paper Chase and something.
When in the early stages, how did you go about finding the artists?
So it's mainly through it started kind of just direct messaging through social media channels and their websites and things like that. And it's come to grow where a lot more artists seem to be contacting us to get on board. So we still do quite a decent amount of kind of filtering and looking through things. But we're looking at different ways to scale that. I think after seeing your podcast with Nathan, I think the guy, the virtual assistant guy. Yeah. So he that kind of got me thinking about maybe having a few people, because it seems to be the best ways to reach out to these artists directly, and that's Instagram is kind of the platform where they live. But it's quite hard to have someone doing that full time, just contacting artists at the moment.
Exactly. So At the moment, you've got a little team at the moment, though, don't you?
Very, very small. So we've got so there's me and Sophie that are still very much working on it in our spare time. So we're working on it weekends and evenings and things like that. And then we have one of my best friends and Sophie's partner, Rowan, who's been helping doing the curation and sorting a lot of the designers and the designs out. And then my partner, Laura, who's been helping with fulfillment and logistics and things like that. So we're still very small.
Everyone's involved, family business. So you're going down the investment route.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. How have you found speaking to investors, putting this in front of them? What are you getting, and how's that journey going?
So I think it's been slightly easier for me from a few perspectives. I've kind of been in that world, like my current role that I have as my kind of full-time job at the moment is within like the investment world, more towards the stock market and equity investing that way. But it's definitely hard work, and I think one of the hardest things is trying to balance those when you're actually going out to invest at this early stage, is trying to balance the two things with growing the business and still making it look attractive and that it's going somewhere, but at the same time there's so much work to not only creating your pitch, like I've sent it to you, I've sent it to other angels. It's like it's generating that feedback, making it better, writing a script. Like there's just so much work there just to get it to the point where it's ready to send to investors, never mind traveling to all the meetings and things like that.
If you weren't in the world of investing, and even though it's not VC sort of stuff, do you think you would have found it as easy as you had? Difficult question.
Yeah, I mean, so I've been quite lucky to get a few contacts from it, but I wouldn't say that they've been the most like the ones with the best outcomes. There's some fantastic sites out there like Dexender and Angel Investment Network and things like that now, where it's so easy to make great contacts. And even a lot of angel investors on LinkedIn are still very open to receiving connections, and as long as you don't go crazy and just spam them and say, I think you just have to be quite conscious that these people get this stuff all the time, and just most of the time, 99% of the time, you aren't going to get either a reply, or it's not the right fit or something. It's like you're only looking for that 0.1,
that one yes,
it's what's going to make all the difference.
And when you're getting those no's or those non-responses, what do you have within you that makes you want to carry on, that makes you want to chase that yes?
I think for me, it's probably belief in the platform, that we are doing something that is meant to change the way that people are going to, operate in this industry. So I think for me, that's the main point. I think that's what you should kind of have belief in the product so much that, and for me, it wouldn't matter whether we got investment or not. It would still be something that I'd find a different way to make it work, or whether it be I'd change the ask or find a way to go part-time and manage these things differently. But I don't think anything kind of puts you off if you have that real urge to kind of accomplish it.
Yeah, that's it. That internal drive that you have to have.
Yeah,
I think there's a lot of businesses now that are almost the opposite of that. They're just trying to chase that investment because that's the done thing.
I mean, it's obviously really hard if you're going out for so for example, Stockopedia, where I've been for the last 6 or 7 years, in order to just get into the game, you're looking at hundreds of thousands of pounds of data costs that you then have to sell on for, a 20 quid a month. And it's like, how we can't even start until we get to that point. But there's other ways around it. There's definitely other ways around it, and you don't always have to kind of, there's ways of bodging it. There's ways of faking it until you make it, because it might be that you're just not at the point where it's like, if you had a large user base and all those users were saying, yes, we pay 20 quid a month or something, you're then very likely to go to an investor versus just going, oh, we need £1 million because we're going to buy this data and we're going to sell it to investors. That's just not going to work.
Yeah. I think you get some questions with that. For you, why is it that this business is so important? Where does that passion for it come from?
I think it was one of the biggest things is it's been such a frustration for years, is just like, oh my God, I forgot an anniversary card. Oh my God, like, yeah, or it's the annoyance of going, I can't be without one, so I'm going to have to rush to the shops at 5:30 and go down that route. But I think we've kind of, since it got past that stage as well, and you started looking in the industry, it's actually quite it's quite inefficient and wasteful as well. So people are moving more towards recycled cards and things like that, and more economical printing. But still, a lot of this industry is still based in retail, which most of the stuff is like wrapped in plastic, single-use plastic that you just throw away. A lot of the stuff is mass produced in other countries such as China, and then obviously shipped over, which is a huge carbon emissions thing. And then also you think about how uneconomical it is to just fill a retail space with all these different cards, some that might never get bought or sold, and often they just get thrown in the bin if they're not the right design that people would buy.
Yeah.
So it's kind of it's pushed me on even further to go, this is really wasteful. It's helped with Moonpig and their whole like print on demand, print to order thing. But I think there's still quite a way to go.
How do you go about educating people in that knowledge? Because when I think of like recycling at waste and all that kind of stuff, Clinton's is not the first brand that comes to mind when I think wasteful paper. But now you say it, it's quite obvious that it's going to be a massive byproduct.
Yeah. So one thing that people do come back to with us, our subscribers and kind of people just asking, is they're very much aware already of the whole like wrapped in plastic thing, and they kind of hate to use it almost. And so we've had even people say, hey, can you not send me that? And then when we say to them, ours isn't actually plastic, it's made from vegetable starch, it's then they then start to realize that there's a much greener thing around it. But we've started to add things like adding green stickers on things. We add a leaflet into all of our like boxes when you first subscribe that kind of, it runs down everything that's like made from recycled board. This is made from vegetable starch, it's compostable. Even all of the packaging outside was made from recycled card and everything like that as well. And also we have quite a few blog posts and things on there that's trying to help educate people to that side of things, which I think there's just this bigger drive there anyway, that people are actively looking for alternate ways to
definitely
to be less effective.
More green.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
When you started the business, was that an avenue for you that you wanted to explore anyway, or was it something that came up when you were researching all these other competitors and saw the waste of Clinton's and Paper Chase and that kind of thing?
I think it was there right from the start. I mean, our first the first homepage automatically, and it still does have on that for every so many subscribers that we plant a tree as well, as well as trying to keep it green. I guess it snowballed further into when you started to get people signing up, partly because of the green credentials of it. So it's been very much, even when at the moment we're thinking, so with your first order, you get your card, you get a leaflet, welcome leaflet, you get a bag of we send like it's just a little thing, it's like a small bag of like Haribo in there.
Yeah.
But again, it was like single-use plastics, and also we had people who were vegan who couldn't eat Haribo.
Yeah, God, never even think about it.
So we switched that over to using paper bags with also vegan sweets in them as well. And now we're looking at with the first order, like as a welcome pack, to send like a branded pen And now you're also looking at, well, do we go down like a bamboo route? It's not actually single-use plastic, so can we get away with that? There's lots of things to kind of think about, but it's become this driver that we want. We see it as a real USP now, because there's certain brands that are like pushing a little bit into that area, but there's still a lot of them that are very like, there's nothing about them online. There's nothing about them written about how they go about their business and what they're trying to do to help the situation.
But it also sounds like you've had really good feedback from your subscribers, from your customers.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I think that's one of the biggest things, is just being able to kind of pick up on those little points that you might have thought, oh, well, it's just that was a personal belief of mine. And it's not, if you can have something like that and it's not really affecting your customers, it's fantastic. But to then get it back and go, actually, that's the way that we should be pushing this kind of thing, because people see it as it's just another USP over our competitors.
And how valuable do you think it is to be able to even have that communication line with a customer anyway? Because there's so many companies out there, so many brands out there that don't have that.
I mean, it's invaluable. It's one of the most important things about trying to grow a business, is to listen to your customers and trying to talk to them. It is even we try to do it quite a lot, but it is really hard to just especially not doing this thing full time. Is trying to organize time to just look at all your customers and just select a person who's using the service and say, hey, can we set up a phone call? I just want to see kind of how you used to use things, how you do use the site now. Is there any improvements, things like that? Because that's the only way that you're going to get to a level where people are going to actively tell their friends without you even asking them.
Yeah, massively. Where are your customers coming from at the moment then?
So we restrict ourselves to the UK at the moment, because obviously we can, being so small at the moment,
you can walk.
We can only print and ship in the UK, which we have kind of started to develop some conversations about kind of moving things and moving some certain printing logistics aboard, or at least obviously connecting with those ones so we can send them.
Well, I guess that's because you technically would have such a good lead up time. You can. It's not like Moonpig, where most people go on there and it's like, oh, I need to get something sent for tomorrow. I mean, which is it's something we want to get into that market as well, because the whole ethos of the business is to actually solve this issue. It's not to go like, oh, well, if you forgot to put one in and order it for this month, then it's tough luck. That should never be the case. You should always be able to have something there. But it seems to, from what I've heard from some quite credible sources, it's getting later and later to this like last minute, next day delivery thing. I think the peak for it might have been Christmas, the peak for Christmas cards, or it might have been Valentine's last day. I think the peak was about 4 p.m. the day before. So the peak sales for, like, if you put out, let's say it was Valentine's Day, the day before Valentine's Day at 4 p.m. was the peak sales for one of the biggest websites on the web for these things. And so you can see that people just clearly, whether it's something that they aren't forgetting or they aren't planning, which I think is a big part of it, or it's something that they just feel better that I'll quickly, they like the convenience of just, I'll order that. So it's like the Amazon mentality, isn't it?
So it's going to be hard for us to get to there. I mean, back to the original question. So at the moment we're just in the UK. We have quite a few audiences that we've created for our marketing channels and things like that, but primarily UK at the moment.
Excellent. And for you, you've been going properly a year now, right?
Yeah.
What are some of the big learnings that you've had in the past 12 months, coming up to your first birthday? In this reflective time, I'm sure.
That time is the enemy, pretty much. Especially, so one of the biggest things is probably organizing yourself. Like that, it's really, really hard to just kind of ad hoc, like, oh, I'll spend an hour there and I'll do this and I'll do whatever. Unless you're very disciplined with where you spend your time, you're not going to get certain things done. So that's probably one thing. Probably the more focus on marketing is one of the biggest things that I've learned. I'm so most of my background has been in design and development as well as marketing, and I'm very much like person that doesn't think that things should even be out the door until they're absolutely perfect. But kind of adjusting your perception to getting MVPs out and just going, the product works, it works perfectly fine. Like, now's the time to like hammer home just everything that we've got on marketing and content and everything like that.
You mean now's the time for everyone to sign up to Wuzci.com? And
that's the one. Yeah, Wuzci.com. 3 month free trial.
There you go.
Yeah, and it will solve all of your issues with greetings cards.
You will never have that moment where you're about to leave the house and go, bugger, I forgot the birthday card.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Yeah, never again.
Where do you want to take this? Where do you want this business to go?
So we've looked at, as you do with decks and things like that, we've looked at multiple exits. So I ideally, even in our time before we even looked at any exits, would like to take this internationally. So solve a lot of the issues that people have globally, which is there's a few main markets, is like US. There's a few European countries and Australia. They're kind of the main markets. Luckily, the UK is the second biggest market, so it's a very good, fertile place to start.
I'm guessing the States is number one.
Yeah. So we're about 1.6 billion at the moment, 1.6, 1.7, and the US is about 5.2 billion market. So it's absolutely huge. But then that obviously comes with logistic nightmares of trying to ship things over to such a vast country. So I mean, it's really hard to kind of. So I would like it to be in multiple countries. I'd like us to offer a few more, services. We've already started to look at integrating with gift cards and things like that. I mean, yeah, it's a hard one to see. It's such a small stage. There's multiple exits that we've kind of accounted for. Whether it could be something that we get to a certain point where we've disrupted the market a bit. And my most ideal situation is that we disrupt the market so much, similar to kind of Dollar Shave Club, that one of the big boys like Hallmark kind of acquires us in order to.
You get a knock on the door with a guy with a big briefcase full of cash.
Yeah, as everyone's dream is. But I don't think, whilst that's fantastic, it's a fantastic thing to pitch. Like the whole premise is to actually solve this solution. Solve this problem is to have like a really solid solution that everyone just goes, well, that's what you do for greetings cards. Similar to like, oh,
why wasn't I doing this 5 years ago, sort of thing.
Yeah. So when you were, similar to, if you want to listen to music, you open Spotify. If you want to watch movies, you go on Netflix. It's just similar sort of thing that I'd really love to have in just everyone's mind.
Hallmark is like Clinton's is the equivalent to LimeWire, and you're the equivalent to Spotify.
Hopefully, yeah. That's how we see it. Definitely.
Not the best analogy I've used, I've got to admit, but that's what popped into my head.
Yeah.
So from what I've seen and what you've said, there's no one else doing this in the market. There's not really anyone offering this subscription-based greeting card service, right?
No. So there's been one or two subscription greetings card services, but they're very much like almost an artist box of.
Okay.
Yeah. So you you just get a choice of, you pay something quite expensive, about £10 a month, and then you get a couple of cards, not of your choice, just a couple of cards in there every month.
Okay, yeah, like those random boxes you can get.
Yeah. So this one not only it stores all your occasions, so it doesn't. That is whether it's birthdays, Valentine's Day, anniversaries, whatever it is. It reminds you and it lets you select for whatever you need. but it's also very much linked to those things as well. So it reminds you can select things. It's also about having an associated artist platform around it as well.
What are some pros and cons of being that first business that is wanting to disrupt? You know, that not everyone is used to this service yet. So what's some pros and cons of that?
Well, I think like many businesses, you're fighting kind of you're fighting a very done way, a very kind of mindset of people just going, oh well, I go to the shops, I get my cards, it's fine. Which there are some people that still feel like that, and obviously whenever you run adverts on social media, you'll definitely get some of the comments where, so oh well, I can get 10 cards for £1 at Card Factory. And they're kind of, you're kind of slightly missing the point, but also they're not the right customers, to be fair. So it's very good that there are those levels of kind of value around, but obviously they're manufactured very, very cheaply. They're very uneconomical, anti-green, everything like that. So yeah, it's probably the hardest thing is changing that mindset. I mean, as you can imagine, like when Spotify was really trying to break into the market, people were like, well, why would I pay £10 a month when I only ever spend £20 a year on a couple of singles? But lo and behold, once you start having it and you start realizing that you can listen to unlimited music from every band ever, and you get all these amazing suggestions. It's just about, I think, and that's why we've kind of tried to incorporate the trial and like really doing a CRO conversion rate optimization on the site, and try and just address like, okay, well, why does it cost this much? Why should I sign up? Why is it better than XYZ? What are you going to do? That's why we've really tried to address a lot of those like objections.
Exactly. It's like you said, it's all about that behavior change. You're trying to change this behavior that's been around for hundreds of years of people going to a shop, buying a card, buying in bulk, whatever this case is. You mentioned in terms of, those people that go to Card Factory and buy 10 for £1 are not the right customers, which is great. How did you refine and figure out who that right customer was?
So I think data is obviously a fantastic way to start looking at this. You can run very cheap, limited Facebook ads, start scoping out your audience that you already know about. So whether that just like, you could start just with the UK, you can on Facebook, you can do things about like their engaged buyers, that they like certain pages so that that they're enthused with maybe similar. So I'd say that our designs are more at the level of kind of say Paper Chase and probably part of Clinton's now that they've kind of raised their game a little bit. So you can really build an audience from that, and then you can look at from the audience, from those engaged buyers. Okay, well, how do those guys, what's their demographic, where are they based, what's their age, all those things like that. So it's quite easy to build audiences just by using data and social media. But you then also try and build in some of like the industry. So quite lucky in the greetings card industry that there is certain reports and associations out there where you can look into, okay, well, this is something like 82% of the cards bought were by women.
Oh wow!
Normally, there's different demographics for age ranges and things like that. So you can mix and match and really build like a complex targeting system for the right type of customer.
Do you think people still undervalue how important that sort of data is?
Yeah, I think it's kind of hard because when you're in kind of techie industries and you're speaking to early founders, they kind of appreciate it. So it almost feels, I can imagine if I was speaking to kind of big FTSE 350 CEOs, they might see it a bit differently, that, oh, well, we chuck a load of marketing into billboards and tube ads and we see a return. So that's it. But yeah, I wouldn't say it's too undervalued now. I think a lot of people really have this notion of like data is one of the
Data
biggest
is king.
players here. Yeah.
You know what they say. One of my final questions to you, Adam, is how are you managing the job, a 1-year-old baby, and a startup business, and still being able to, function?
Come on the podcast.
Yeah, come on a podcast, function, smile, come to the Founders Christmas dinner last year, and functioning in that as well.
I don't honestly know, to be honest. I think I think one of the biggest things is that I'm really enjoying what I do. So I think it's one of the biggest the biggest kind of motivators there.
Yeah.
Another one that I struggled with right at the start, but again, it's kind of what I alluded to before, which was the being organized, and actually planning blocks of time, having a really detailed calendar of all the things that you've got going on. It might even be, putting travel time in there, putting time to do, bath and bedtime things, putting time in to go to the pub. Like, all of that stuff is about communication. So I'd say it's probably about 40% drive and 60% kind of communication and things like that. And
What would you do if your calendar goes offline one day?
I don't know. It's like there's so much stuff. I'm sure you're the same, but there's so much stuff like going on that unless things are like in a meeting and in 30 minutes you've got a meeting here, then I'm quite bad.
Yeah, it's crazy. I never used to be like that. I always used to be able to just roll with things and be like, okay, yeah, I know what's happening this week. But the more you use a calendar, the more you depend on it, I find.
Well, yeah, 100%. It also starts to free your mind as well, because you've got this like niggle or 10 different niggles of, well, I've got to go and pick this up. I've got to go and, sort this. I've got a call with so-and-so. I've got that. As soon as you start getting that out of your mind, that you can look at your calendar and go, okay, there's 3-hour gap. I've got this, and this on the checklist to do. I'm going to smash it before I've got this call. And you don't even start. Otherwise, you're then in that 3 hours going like, what time was it? Did we research anything?
3 hours is gone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
One of my final question to you is, and I think you're going to give some really good points here. What are 3 things that you can get, and you knew this was coming because you listened to the podcast. What are 3 things that you can give to other founders that can help them on their journey?
So first thing would be, don't stop learning or listening. So whether that's, it is really hard to constantly be learning whilst you're got your head full of like business stuff and everything else. But there is always time to kind of squeeze in a podcast in the car, or to, do some reading like before you go to bed. And the listening part is about, customers, even kind of outside of business, like even if factually that someone is saying something wrong, keep listening and keep understanding how they got to that reasoning, because it will really help you understand humans a lot better. To focus on scale and process, sorry. So yeah, if you focus on scale and process as a real fundamental to like growing the business, because if most of the decisions that you make and most of the kind of ways you go about dealing with things, if you start thinking about how does this work when we have 1,000 customers, 100,000 customers, 10 million customers, it might not work straight away, but at least you're starting to think about, okay, well, it might not work right now. Or it might, you go, instead of us just bodging this, why don't we spend an extra hour to kind of figure out how this will scale, and it will just, look after itself.
Yeah.
And then process, like try and write everything down. Like you should be at a point where you can bring in a part-timer, a new person in, and they go, here's, how do I do this? Okay, we'll go and read that. That's the process. That's how we do it. And you'll be amazed at how much things you forget as well when you come back to do it yourself. Last one, probably back on the point of organize yourself and also look after yourself. Like there's the amount of times like that I think the only reason I've been able to do this was to try and like have a better lifestyle in terms of eating less crap, trying to get some exercise, you know, taking less sugar in and things like that. And you really feel it. You really feel that you're able to, like, you're awake, you're alert. Instead of going to, you know, binge on Netflix, you'll actually go and do some work, or you'll listen to a podcast instead and find that as kind of, because it's really hard. Like, I've done it before where I've been on the road at 4 a.m. and like to then go, all you want to do is be back in bed, or you want to kind of just chill out and listen to music. To put on a podcast at that point and try and take in something is really hard. But unless like your body's energized, ready for it, it just won't go in.
That's it.
Yeah, that's the third one.
Nice. Spot on, Adam. Spot on. If anyone wants to get in touch with you, sign up to Wuzci, what is the easiest way for them to do this?
So yeah, you can go on the site, wuzci.com, wuzci.com. You can email me if you want, adam@wuzci.com. But we also have, you know, chat intercom actually embedded on the site. So if you just go onto the site, you can chat with any of the team at any time of the day. Cool.
Adam, thank you so much for coming on. You have actually been guest number 40 on this journey. I know, getting into the big numbers now. Thank you so much for coming on. Really appreciate your time and your value that you've given. And thank you everyone for listening and watching. This has been Founders365 with me, Steven Haggerty.